There is a tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. It's a weight in the bones, a quiet, humming exhaustion behind your eyes. It is the exhaustion of being the designated good person, the one who understands, the one who makes excuses for others, the one who absorbs the tension in a room and calls it peace. You have a cup in your hands. You may not see it, but you feel it. For years you have held this cup out to others. When they were thirsty, you offered it. When they were empty, you poured from it. You have become so skilled at offering this cup that you do it automatically, a reflex of your soul. You believed this was your purpose, your virtue. You believed your kindness was a light. And then, one day, you went to pour from the cup and only dust came out. You looked inside, and for the first time you saw the cracks. You felt your own thirst, a deep, aching dehydration of the spirit. And when you looked up, the person you had been offering the cup to was not looking at you with gratitude. They were looking at the empty cup with annoyance, as if you had failed them. This is the moment the betrayal lands, but it is not their betrayal that cuts the deepest. It is the chilling realization that you have been betraying yourself all along. Your kindness, the very thing you thought defined your goodness, has become the instrument of your own undoing. It has become a performance of self-abandonment. And the most confusing part? You feel guilty. Guilty for being empty. Guilty for finally feeling the cracks. A part of you whispers that if you were just a little stronger, a little more loving, a little better, the cup would have magically refilled itself. You are not angry at them for taking. You are ashamed of yourself for no longer having anything left to give. This is the quiet madness of the empath caught in a dynamic that feeds on their light. It's the moment you realize your boundarylessness was not a virtue, but a wound. This is not a simple story of a giver and a taker. To see it that way is to miss the entire psychological mechanism that has you trapped. The surface story is that they are demanding and you are generous. The deeper, more uncomfortable truth is that your relentless giving is not just an act of love. It is an unconscious strategy to manage a deep, primal fear. The fear of being seen as bad. You are not just giving them your time, your energy, your understanding. You are giving them the responsibility for your own goodness. As long as you are the kind one, the understanding one, the patient one, you don't have to face the parts of yourself that are not. The part that is angry, the part that is exhausted, the part that wants to say no and walk away, the part that wants to put its own needs first. This dynamic is not an accident. It is a perfect, unconscious collusion. You have found someone who is an expert at taking, because you are an expert at overgiving. You have found someone who is comfortable with their own needs, because you are deeply uncomfortable with yours. The connection feels so intense, so fated, because on a deep, psychological level, you complete each other's neuroses. They are a mirror for what you have not yet claimed in yourself. But you have been taught to see this painful reflection as love. To understand how this happened, we have to look at the mask you wear. In the language of Carl Jung, this is the persona. The persona is the social face we present to the world. It's the role we play to be accepted, to function, to be liked. For many, the persona is that of the good person, the helper, the rescuer, the peacemaker. This mask was likely crafted in childhood. Perhaps you were the child who learned that love and safety were conditional upon being helpful and quiet. You learned that your needs were an inconvenience, but meeting the needs of others earned you a fragile place in the family system. You became a human tuning fork, vibrating with the anxieties and unspoken demands of everyone around you. Being good was not a choice, it was a survival strategy. The problem is not having a persona. We all need one. The problem is when we mistake the mask for our actual face. You have identified so completely with the role of the good person that anything outside of it feels like a threat to your very identity. Saying no doesn't just feel unkind. It feels like you are ceasing to be you. Setting a boundary doesn't feel like self-care. It feels like an act of aggression, a fundamental violation of the character you have spent a lifetime perfecting. This is why logical arguments from friends and family fall on deaf ears. They say, just leave, or just stop talking to them. They don't understand that they are asking you to tear off your own face. They don't see that your identity has become fused with this performance of endless giving. The emptiness you feel is the cry of your true self, suffocating beneath the weight of a mask that has become too heavy to bear. The exhaustion is the energy it takes to keep this flawless, endlessly benevolent character on stage, 24 hours a day. But this is only the first layer of the trap. The persona of the good person explains why you do it. It doesn't explain why it feels so uniquely painful and confusing with this particular person or in this particular dynamic. For that, we must go deeper, into the subtle and powerful world of psychological projection. You are not just being kind, you are actively projecting your own goodness onto the other person. Projection is an unconscious process where we take a part of ourselves, a quality, a belief, an unowned potential, and see it as if it exists in someone else. Because you are fundamentally a person of empathy and goodwill, you assume they are too. You project your own capacity for self-reflection, your own conscience, your own desire for fairness onto them. You look at them, and instead of seeing who they are through their actions, you see a reflection of your own best intentions. You are essentially in a relationship with a beautiful, idealized version of yourself that you have painted over them. This is why you are always so surprised when they let you down. The shock is not just disappointment, it is a deep, psychic confusion. It's like looking in a mirror and seeing a stranger sneer back at you. You think, but they wouldn't do that. That's not who they are. The truth is, that's not who you are. You are arguing with your own projection. You make excuses for their behavior because to admit the truth of their actions would be to admit your projection was wrong. And if your projection was wrong, the entire foundation of the connection crumbles. It means you are not seeing them clearly. It means the connection might not be what you thought it was. This is a terrifying thought, so the psyche, in a desperate act of self-preservation, doubles down. You tell yourself, they're just hurt. They didn't mean it. They've had a hard life. You are not just making an excuse for them. You are desperately trying to repair the projection. You are trying to force their behavior to fit the beautiful image you have painted. This is the work that drains you. It is the emotional labor of constantly reconciling someone's harsh reality with your beautiful illusion. The empty cup is the symbol of this labor. You keep pouring your energy, your understanding, your forgiveness into the gap between who they are and who you need them to be. And because that gap is infinite, your cup will always end up empty. You are trying to fill a black hole with your own life force. And here the pattern becomes truly insidious. The more you project your goodness onto them, the more you are forced to disown your own badness. This is the realm of what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is everything we are, but have decided we are not. It contains all the parts of ourselves that we have repressed or denied because they were deemed unacceptable by our family, our culture, or our own conscious ego. For the person trapped in the role of the empath, the shadow is filled with things like selfishness, anger, setting boundaries, saying no, and prioritizing one's own needs. These are not inherently bad things. In a healthy psyche, they are essential for survival and self-respect. But for you, they have been labeled bad. They are the monster in your psychic basement. Your greatest fear is that this monster will get out. Your entire identity as the good person is built on keeping that basement door locked. So you do everything in your power to be the opposite of your shadow. You become excessively selfless, excessively patient, excessively forgiving. Your over-the-top goodness is a desperate attempt to prove to yourself and the world that you are not that selfish, angry, bad person in the basement. Now, see how the trap snaps shut. You have projected your goodness onto the other person. You have disowned your own badness, your healthy self-interest, into your shadow. This creates a perfect polarized field. You are all good, and therefore must act it out constantly. The other person, who is often more in touch with their own self-interest and less afraid of their own shadow, is free to act out all the things you forbid in yourself. They are free to be demanding because you have taken the role of the giver. They are free to be selfish because you have volunteered to be selfless. In a strange, unconscious way, they are living out your shadow for you. And you are drawn to it and repulsed by it, because the shadow, like anything unconscious, always seeks the light. It wants to be integrated. This is why these connections feel so powerful. It's not just love. It is a profound, archetypal drama playing out. Your soul is trying to become whole by confronting the very things you have rejected in yourself, which are now mirrored in the other person. You are trying to heal, but you are going about it by trying to heal them, by trying to fix the mirror instead of looking at your own reflection. This brings us to the most painful part of the entire cycle, the guilt. The moment you even consider setting a boundary, the guilt that washes over you is immense. It can feel like a physical sickness. This guilt is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is the alarm system of the persona. It is the sound of the chain rattling on the basement door of the shadow. When you feel that guilt, it is the voice of the conditioned self screaming, "Danger! You are about to be a bad person. You are about to be selfish. You are about to be unloving. They will be angry. They will leave. You will be abandoned. You will be unworthy." This guilt is a psychic ghost, a memory of the original wound. It's the echo of the child who learned that their survival depended on being good and compliant. When you try to set a boundary as an adult, that terrified inner child believes you are risking everything. The guilt is not an accurate assessment of the present situation. It is a trauma response from the past. A person caught in a narcissistic dynamic will often use this guilt as a tool, whether consciously or unconsciously. They can sense your fear of being bad. When you pull back, they may not get angry in a way you can fight. Instead, they might express disappointment. They might say, "I thought you were different. I thought you were a kind person. I'm so hurt that you would be so selfish." These words are psychological poison. They are designed to directly trigger your core fear. They confirm the voice of your shadow that you are, in fact, a terrible person. And to escape that unbearable feeling, you rush back in. You apologize. You over-explain. You abandon the boundary you were trying to set. You offer the empty cup again, just to prove you are still good. The chain holds. The cycle repeats. You have chosen their comfort over your own survival, once again. If this has been your life, if you have felt this deep exhaustion and this paralyzing guilt, know that you are not broken. You are caught in a deep, archetypal pattern. But the pattern is not a life sentence. The way out is not to become colder, harder, or more cynical. The way out is through consciousness. The turning point comes when the pain of self-betrayal finally becomes greater than the fear of being seen as bad. It's a moment of terrible, clarifying honesty. It's the moment you look at the empty, cracked cup in your hands and realize that dying of thirst while trying to give water to someone who is not even thirsty is not nobility. It is a slow form of suicide. This is the moment of rock bottom. It doesn't always look dramatic. It can be a very quiet click, the sound of a lock turning inside you. It's the morning you wake up and the first thought isn't, "What do they need?" but a faint, trembling whisper of, "What do I need?" It's the moment you look at their text message and feel nothing but weariness, where once there was a jolt of anxiety or hope. The energy has gone. The projection has begun to flicker and die. This is the beginning of the return to yourself. It is not an act of aggression. It is an act of profound surrender. You are surrendering the need to manage their feelings. You are surrendering the need to be seen as the good person. You are surrendering the impossible job of holding up the projection. The first step is to withdraw your energy. This is not the same as the silent treatment, which is a manipulative tactic designed to provoke a response. This is a true retreat. It is a quiet pulling back of your focus, your emotional investment, your psychic energy. You stop offering the cup, you just hold it. You turn it over in your own hands. In this space of quiet, you begin the work of reclaiming your projections. You start to see the other person not as the idealized savior or the tragic victim you needed them to be, but as they actually are, based on their consistent behavior. This is painful. It involves grieving the person you thought they were, the connection you thought you had. You are letting the beautiful painting dissolve to reveal the plain and sometimes damaged wall beneath. Simultaneously, you must turn to face your own shadow. You must be willing to open the basement door and meet the parts of yourself you have labeled bad. You must be willing to sit with your own anger, your own needs, your own selfishness. You might start by asking, what would my selfish side do right now? What does my anger have to say? Not to act on it destructively, but to listen to it as a source of information. Anger is often just a boundary that has been crossed too many times. Selfishness, in this context, is often just the voice of the self, asking for its basic needs to be met. This is the process of integration. You are taking back the disowned parts of yourself. As you integrate your shadow, you become more whole. You are no longer just the good person. You are a complete human being, capable of both kindness and anger, both generosity and self-preservation. This is where true boundaries are born. A boundary born from anger or revenge is a hot, brittle wall. It can be effective for a while, but it consumes a lot of energy to maintain. A boundary born from integration, from self-worth, is different. It is a calm, flexible, and utterly non-negotiable circle of dignity around you. It is not a wall you build to keep them out. It is the recognition of where you end and they begin. It is not screamed in anger. It is stated quietly or simply enacted. It is the choice to not answer the phone, the choice to not explain yourself, the choice to not engage in the old, draining conversations. It is the quiet, powerful energy of a person who is no longer available for their own diminishment. When you operate from this place, the dynamic loses its power. A manipulative pattern requires your participation. It needs your guilt, your fear of being bad, your willingness to overfunction. When you withdraw those things, the game is over. They may escalate, they may get angry, they may try to trigger your guilt even more intensely. But if you have done the inner work, if you have begun to reclaim your shadow and withdraw your projection, their attempts will feel different. It will be like watching a storm from behind a strong window. You can see the lightning and hear the thunder, but you are no longer standing out in the rain, believing it is your fault. You are safe inside your own self. If this journey names something you have been unable to say out loud, take a moment. Put a hand on your heart and acknowledge the exhaustion. Acknowledge the pain. This is the first step of coming home. The journey from self-betrayal to self-possession is the core of what Carl Jung called individuation. It is the process of becoming a whole, individual, undivided being. It is about shedding the collective roles and parental conditioning that have kept you small and fragmented. It is about reclaiming all the lost pieces of yourself, from the projections you have cast onto others and the shadows you have hidden within. You will find that your kindness does not disappear. It transforms. Compulsive, anxious, people-pleasing niceness falls away. In its place, a deeper, more grounded compassion arises. This is a compassion that can hold space for another's pain without needing to fix it. It is a kindness that can give freely and joyfully, but only from a full cup. It is a love that can say, "I care for you deeply, and I will not participate in anything that harms me." This new kindness is discerning. It is wise. It knows that true help sometimes means stepping back and allowing another person to face the consequences of their own choices. It understands that enabling a destructive pattern is not an act of love. You stop waiting. You stop waiting for them to see you, to appreciate you, to change. The focus shifts entirely from them to you. The central question of your life is no longer, how can I make them happy? It becomes, how can I honor my own soul? How can I be true to myself? You start filling your own cup. You do it with small acts of self-respect, by saying no to one small thing, by taking 10 minutes for yourself, by listening to your body when it says it is tired, by defending yourself in your own mind when the inner critic starts its attack. Each act is a drop of water in the parched vessel of yourself. Slowly, the cracks begin to heal. The cup becomes solid again. It starts to fill with your own energy, your own light, your own presence. You carry it differently. It is no longer held out with a trembling, desperate hand. It rests securely in your own center. From this place, you can see the world clearly. You attract different people, or the same people who remain in your life begin to treat you differently, because the unconscious contract has been rewritten. You are no longer advertising that you are available for self-abandonment. Your very presence communicates a quiet dignity. The fear of being bad dissolves, replaced by the simple, grounded reality of being whole. You are not good or bad. You are you, a complex, beautiful, and complete human being, with a right to your own life, your own energy, and your own peace. The betrayal was never about them. It was about your disconnection from your own worth. And the return is not about them either. It is the sacred journey back to the center of your own being. It is realizing that the love and approval you were so desperately seeking from others was always waiting for you inside yourself. My kindness no longer requires my self-betrayal. Let that statement land. It is not an endpoint. It is a declaration of sovereignty. It is the first true breath taken after a lifetime of holding it. But a declaration, no matter how powerful, is a thing of the mind. The body, however, has a longer memory. The body is an archive of every swallowed no, every forced smile, every time you stayed when you desperately wanted to leave. It remembers the cost of your goodness in the language of muscle, nerve, and cell. This is the body memory layer of self-betrayal. This is why, even after your mind has decided, your body may still react with the old panic. The phone rings with their name, and your stomach instantly clenches. You draft a message to set a boundary, and your heart pounds as if you are running from a predator. You might feel a tightening in your throat, a phantom weight on your shoulders. This is not a sign of failure. It is the body's memory of the original wound, the somatic echo of a time when disagreeing felt like a direct threat to your survival. The work now is not just to convince your mind, but to teach your body that it is safe. This is done through presence. When the panic rises, you don't fight it or shame yourself for it. You pause. You breathe into it. You place a hand on your chest or your stomach, and you silently tell that terrified part of you, I feel you. We are safe now. I am here. I will not abandon you. You are reparenting your own nervous system, one conscious breath at a time. The exhaustion you felt was not just psychological, it was physiological. It was the chronic, low-level activation of your fight-or-flight system, a body perpetually braced for the next emotional demand. The return to self is also a return to your physical home, learning to inhabit your body not as a fortress under siege, but as a sanctuary. As you practice this somatic mindfulness, something remarkable begins to happen inside. The inner landscape shifts. Where there was once a constant, frantic noise, the inner critic screaming, selfish, the inner manager calculating how to please everyone, a quiet space begins to open up. At first, this quiet can feel deeply uncomfortable, even terrifying. It's the void left behind when the drama, the anxiety, and the obsessive focus on the other person are removed. You have spent so long with their needs as your North Star that your own inner world feels like uncharted territory. The temptation will be to fill this void immediately, to find a new project, a new distraction, or even a new person to fix. The true, courageous work is to tolerate the emptiness, to sit in it, to allow it to be. This is the fertile ground where your own desires, your own voice, your own life can finally begin to grow. You'll notice the change in small, concrete ways. You'll hear a song and actually feel it, instead of wondering if they would like it. You'll have an opinion and state it without a 3-paragraph disclaimer to soften the blow. You'll make a choice for your own pleasure, and the guilt will be a faint echo instead of a tidal wave. The most profound inner sign is a feeling of neutrality. You will think of them, and instead of a jolt of pain, anger, or longing, you will feel nothing, a quiet distance. The emotional charge is gone. The projection has fully dissolved. You are no longer looking at a distorted mirror of yourself. You are simply looking at another person, separate from you, with their own path and their own problems that are no longer yours to solve. And then, just when you start to feel this new, grounded peace, the universe will send you a final exam. This is the late practical test. The other person may reappear. They will not come as the monster you now see them as. They will come as the idealized projection you first fell in love with. They will be charming. They will be apologetic. They will tell you they've changed, that they've been to therapy, that they finally understand everything you tried to tell them. They will reflect back to you the person you always wanted them to be. This is the most dangerous and clarifying moment. It is a direct appeal to the part of you that still grieves the dream and wants the fairy tale to be true. The test is not whether you can be cruel or cold. The test is whether you can hold on to your own reality in the face of their powerful performance. The test is to listen to their words, and then to listen, even more closely, to your own body. Is your stomach clenching? Is your breathing shallow? Is there a familiar tension in your jaw? Your body remembers the truth even when your mind is tempted by the beautiful story. Passing this test doesn't require a dramatic speech or a final confrontation. It can be a quiet, I wish you well, but I cannot have this conversation. It can be a simple, no thank you. It can be no response at all. The victory is not in defeating them. It is in refusing to abandon yourself one more time. The profound peace that settles in you after you have held your boundary. A peace that is calm and clear, not riddled with the old familiar guilt. That is the sign you have graduated. Through this process, your very definition of goodness is deconstructed and rebuilt. You realize that the niceness you practiced was rooted in fear, the fear of disapproval, the fear of conflict, the fear of being seen as bad. It was a transactional strategy for safety. True kindness, you discover, is not rooted in fear, but in strength. It is a quality of a sovereign self. It is the ability to see another person struggle with clarity and compassion, while simultaneously honoring your own needs and limits. This is the birth of fierce compassion. It is the compassion that understands that sometimes the most loving act is to allow someone to fall, so they can learn to get up on their own. It is the wisdom to know that rescuing someone from the consequences of their actions is not helping them. It is crippling them, and you, in the process. Your kindness stops being a performance for others and becomes an authentic expression of your own integrated wholeness. The journey out of self-betrayal is not a straight line. There will be days the old guilt whispers to you. There will be moments you feel the phantom ache of the empty cup. Be gentle with yourself. The goal is not perfection, it is presence. It is the practice of returning, again and again, to the quiet center of your own being. You no longer see your sensitivity as a curse. You see it as a superpower that was simply miscalibrated. Now, you are learning to use it as an internal guidance system, a compass that points not toward the noise of others' needs, but toward the quiet, steady signal of your own truth. The exhaustion that weighed down your bones is slowly replaced by a gentle vitality. You find joy not in being needed, but simply in being. You learn to fill your own cup, not as a chore, but as a sacred act of devotion to your own life. And the most beautiful part? Your cup, now tended and cherished, begins to overflow. The kindness that spills over the edges is effortless, authentic, and freely given, with no expectation of return. It is offered not because you should, but simply because you are full. This is not the end of your kindness. It is the beginning of your true, sustainable, and self-honoring love for the world. A love that begins with the love you finally allowed yourself to have for you.